On this episode of the Leadership Hustle, we are going to discuss some of the behaviors that you tolerate that are lowering the level of your culture. Hello, and welcome to the Leadership Hustle for executives whose companies are growing fast and need leaders who are ready. Welcome back to this episode of the Leadership Hustle. I'm Andrea Fredrickson.
I'm Michelle Hill.
And we are today talking about a truth that leaders understand but rarely act on. And that is a belief. Well, let's not even call it a belief. It's a truth that the culture that you have in your company is only as good as the behaviors that you tolerate. In fact, that's a question or a statement I will give people in leadership sessions and have them talk about it. And the noise that erupts out of that conversation is, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And there's all these behaviors that either they're seeing coworkers or their leadership demonstrate and not addressing. And then eventually we get to talk about them. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
It's those, I kind of go back to organizations will set their values and their beliefs and how they want people to treat each other and work together. But so they a lot of times will interview, they'll talk about it, they'll put it in print.
Their values. They put them up on the wall.
They put them everywhere. But that's not always, people still behave differently. And it's okay for certain people.
Right.
It's, accepted for certain people.
So I know that you and I could tell hundreds of these stories because they come up in classes, they come up in coaching events, they come up in 360 evaluations, they come up all the time.
Yes.
So let's talk about some of the example stories that you may have heard that give our audience a picture of what we're talking about.
Okay, so I'm going to go to a sales environment. This was from many, many, many years ago. Okay. But the organization just had pride in regards to how the culture they had and how well they treated people. And really great intentions. And a lot of people were living those values and so forth. Okay. But there was a really, really good salesperson. And the salesperson didn't have to, in that sense where they would call in, they would need things done from people on the inside or peers or, managers in other departments that maybe they had to collaborate with for problem solving issue, when there's issues with product or whatever. And they would communicate in a very direct, aggressive, accusatory. They were never wrong. The customer was never wrong. It was something happened in shipping or something happened and you need to figure this out. Right. Or just dropping stuff on the ball, dropping the ball on other people and then excusing themselves and having them try to fix it and make it better. And when people would talk, you'd get feedback from people that it's just not a safe environment. It's just, everyone else for the most part is respectful and living those values. But this one person was also their number one salesperson.
Oh, of course, right?
So, it was always tiptoed around. And from a perception-wise within the organization, no one ever felt anything was really being done. And in all reality, when I had some questions for people that could have done something, there wasn't a lot being done. It was very behavioral. It was like, well, they can communicate this way differently. Well, their numbers are so good, and they have such great relationships. If we were to lose them, they'd end up, they might take those customers. I mean, right. There was just this fear of losing customers and sales that person was untouchable.
And I can think of 3 or 4 others right off the top of my head. In fact, another one that I can think of was the chief revenue officer, and he was similar way, but they were like, oh my gosh, he's so smart. And he was so smart and he had great relationships and things like that. But the CEO, the owner of the company, neither one of them did anything about this. But I think that there are other times where there are subtle behaviors, where I can think of, this woman, she was, I just want to call her a piece of work. But in all fairness and all due respect to her, she knew what was going on. She knew how she wanted things done. she had been there forever. Like she was part of some of the, I don't want to say she's part of the original woodwork. She was a part of some of the original organizational structure and went through, and people were loyal, and yet she was mean. She did what she wanted to do. She only did what she wanted to do. If she didn't want to do it, she just didn't do it. And so when you know, there are so many stories of people only do what they want to do, or people being late, or people not handing things in, or people always having to chase things down for people and things like that. So all of these come with the leader who has excuses and reasons. So what are some of the reasons and excuses besides, oh, they had these great relationship with customers, or what are some of the excuses you're hearing?
Well, so I even think of, you know, as you were talking, situations where maybe they roll out a new CRM, and a person, again, with history who's been a long time, they're just not using it like they're supposed to. But this, you know, you'll hear them talking about, well, they just don't know different. Or the famous one, and it's more of the behavioral in the sense of they're just not the kindest individual. Oh, that's just kind of how they are. That's just them, you know, because, well, and when there is that it's natural when we get to know someone and see the good side of them and the positives and the value they bring, we then at times don't see always the negatives, right?
Or the ripple effect of all
well,
this happening.
Yeah, and sometimes those negatives, we're not talking big things either, but if it has a negative ripple effect and we then find ourselves having to give excuses to people that are like, this doesn't seem right, or this isn't getting done on time, or this isn't getting done right, and I've asked them several times and it's still not well, that's just them.
That's just them.
You know, when those things are happening, it's like, well, okay, one, do they even know that they're doing something wrong, or that it's not okay, or they need,
They still think they're doing it right. They still think they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
Another one that I hear leader managers do is we'll start the conversation with, well, I know you're busy. So you're already giving them an excuse for something being late, or somebody having to chase down payroll, a report, like whatever it is. Like I want to say they never do things on time. There's never always kind of thing. But it feels like you always have to chase them down for whatever these things are. Oh, we always know they're going to do it because the manager or the other person's going to ask for it, remind me that I need to do that.
Oh, yes. It's that remind me to get that done. And then if you don't remind them, then now you're responsible,
right?
Because you didn't remind them as well, too. It's where a person kind of hands that responsibility to someone else versus owning it themselves.
Right. So I also will hear people give excuses to the leader manager or the other team members of things that they did that were true demonstrations of a lack of planning. So it could be that something was due, let's say it was due today at noon, and they decided that they were going to do it this morning. Well, I couldn't do it because the internet was down. It's like, because you waited until now to do it.
Yes.
Or, oh, I was late. I had to stop and get gas. Well, you knew you had to get gas last night.
Yes.
Well, I didn't do this because it's like, but there was a lack of planning.
That ripples.
So that creates the ripple.
Yes.
So when we're teaching these classes, when we ask this question, so what are some of the excuses? I mean, people just start ripping off on, oh my gosh, and I say these things.
Well, and I ask the question sometimes, what are the unwritten rules? Because
talk more about that.
Well, as you go into an organization, you're learning about, people are going through expectations and how we do things and get things done. Those unwritten rules are the people who don't sometimes. I mean, there's a variety. So sometimes the unwritten rule is some people expect you to respond to an email immediately, and some people expect you to respond to the email within 24 hours. But sometimes those hidden rules, unwritten rules, are behaviors that are accepted that are kind of implied they're not, but they are for certain people.
And so it's inconsistent, and so we haven't done that. So when we don't hold everyone to the same standard, and I guess that's
in
really
a fair
what it
way,
is, right? That, if we tolerate people being late, or we tolerate that they're not handing things in on time, or we tolerate that people don't do things completely, or that they don't ask the questions.
How they communicate.
Or how they communicate or don't communicate, right? What what's the ripple effect, or what can be some of the ripple effects of that for your culture?
Well, it moves the culture in a direction that's not intended. That we're hoping for this culture. We talk about this culture, so we're selling this culture, this environment. But when you get into it, you're experiencing these things. So that person who comes in and now is experiencing this, they're like, I was sold a book of goods that's not true.
Right.
Maybe I don't, maybe I'm not a good fit, or maybe this isn't what I thought it was. Especially you get into, sometimes organizations really present themselves as this trendy kind of fun place. We do all these things. But then you get in there and it's like, no, yeah, they have a pickleball court out there.
But this team does it, but this team doesn't do this.
Yes. Right? Where it's the separating it out. But it has an impact where that's not truly the culture. The other, I would say, is we lose really good people. That's like to me, that is the biggest one. And it's because we're not addressing it. It's like, so what is it? Because what we're okaying, we're by doing nothing, is telling people it's okay. Right. Is that what we want? Because if it is, then I guess, then don't say the opposite.
Call it what it is.
Yes,
right?
Call it what it is. And let's just simply, this is who we are and this is how we're going to behave. And that's okay. There's not exceptions.
Yeah. That's probably the biggest one, is our best people get tired of the excuses.
Oh, yes.
The rationalizing that I'm not going to, I'm kind of taking care of it. I've tried, but no, you haven't. They're still here.
Yes.
They're still behaving that way.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Or that person who explodes in meetings. That behavior is not okay. So if we're gonna let that person continue to do that, at some point people are like, this is not the place for me. This is not. It's psychological safety goes away.
So the third one, and I think this is just as bad because the amount of time that's wasted, and that is there is lots of drama surrounding that. Because everybody's talking about why so-and-so gets away with it or doesn't have to do such and such. Or
lots of drama.
Why do I have to follow up with them all the time? Or why, there's like all this, and people don't keep that to themselves.
Oh,
they have to share it with somebody else because they have to see, I'm not crazy, right?
Correct. And even worse, sometimes they share it with a new person. So now the new person doesn't even have to experience it. They now feel it and think they know it because it's other people have shared it with them too.
Right. The number of customers and clients that we've worked with that have great cultures and they are consistent. And when people come in, they're like, oh, I didn't think this was going to be real, and it's real. And then there's that other company or two or three. It's like, this is the culture that they're sold, and they get there and it's like, yeah, I knew that was too good to be true.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because people are not addressing these behaviors, or they're excusing people's behavior away, not addressing it.
And I do believe sometimes those excuses, they really care about that person. They see a lot of the good things in that person. They're not recognizing when we make it, well, that's just kind of who they are. Whatever that little phrase is that sounds like that. Because the lens and how they view that person is so positive, they're making the assumptions that people are seeing them that same light, and they don't.
And people may love them. They may like them as a person, but this behavior really bites.
Yeah, especially when it is a very direct, I don't want to say hate. It's just that condescending or just jerk. I'm trying to put words to it, but
there are people that are,
but they excuse it because that's that. Well, they're just having a bad day.
Like for the last 4 years?
Yeah. Yeah, they've had a bad day. I mean, I've been here for 2 months and they've had a bad day every day. Is this okay? Can I talk to other people like this?
Right. So let's give the audience a couple of things that they can do to elevate, make seen those behaviors that they're tolerating. Any suggestions you want to hand out right off?
So make sure I'm understanding your question correctly. So what can they do to start noticing?
Or even just taking an inventory of what behaviors, that would be one. It's like take an inventory.
Yeah, take an inventory. It's getting feedback from people. What are the things that as an organization we do really well and role model, and what are the things that maybe we could work on that to align closer with, if it's the values or whatever it is that they use.
So a couple of things like that. So taking an inventory, it's like, what are the things that other people do that really piss you off? If you take an inventory of those things, how many of those things are being tolerated right now? Just look at that list right there.
Yes.
And who do you need to have a conversation with? And I'm not even saying from a leader to a person who's leading, from a leader who's leading others to their team. You can do this peer to peer. What am I doing peer to peer? And how do you create that psychological safety if you have an employee who needs to tell their manager leader,
Yeah.
you're tolerating this, or why do you always do this? It's like, I don't get, you say this, but you act this way.
Yes.
And so creating that inventory, and I think that's, if it pisses you off or ticks you off, there's probably somebody in your organization that's doing it. And have you had that conversation?
Yes.
Right? I do like the idea of what do you notice that I'm tolerating? So in a one-on-one conversation, I might say, you know what, I know I have blind spots, and there are things that I am letting other people do that you see, and it's not even hitting my radar.
No,
What are those things?
that might be frustrating. That might be misunderstood. Where you're asking that, where they feel safe, right? And I always recommend when seeking that feedback is let them know in advance why,
right,
and what you want the feedback on, so they can think about it, because you're going to have a percentage of people that are going to be fast-paced on the spot.
Give me one.
Yeah, and there's going to be people that are like, if you put them on the spot, their brain's just going to freeze. I'm like, I haven't seen anything. And it's like, have you really not seen anything? I mean, there's got to be something.
Right. Well, and when you do get the feedback.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So if Jack
don't give another excuse. Stop the excuses.
Like, I'm excusing something Jack did. It was like, well, you know why I do that, right? Like, no. Just say, thank you.
Thank you. Or you can even ask, can you give me some examples to help me tune in? Like, when might I do that? Like, try to get specific just to help me, put that up front. Help me. Can you give me a couple examples of when I've done that lately? Because I want to be better. And it's, how do we work on that?
Yeah, just those two simple exercises can really give you some insight as to maybe how many things you are tolerating, because you are being watched. I don't care who you are.
You're role modeling,
being watched,
yes.
Especially as a role of leader. But if what you're doing is impacting others, leader, coworker, employee, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
matter where you're at,
right? That you need to recognize your culture is only as good as the worst behaviors you're tolerating. It's like, let's lower let's change the toleration level.
Yeah.
Right? Let's
lift it up.
Get to the point where it's like, no, we can tighten this up. And this may also be, and we're making the assumption, that if these are behaviors we're overlooking, that we haven't been clear about what the expectation is.
Well, yeah, I was going to go there, because it's like, how good of a job are we at doing, at creating clarity in what is the expectation, how we work together, or whatever it is that I'm excusing. Right. Because that person, because if I don't address it as that manager, if I'm not having the conversation, that person doesn't know they're doing anything wrong. Right. So then, you've got this person behaving in a way that they think is fine because their manager hasn't said anything to them. But then you have their peers or whomever over here going, that is so wrong. Now we're deteriorating trust between these two groups of people. Right. And it's because the manager didn't address it in the first place.
I remember not long ago, this is probably within the last 2 months, the manager saying, yeah, I need to send out reminders on Thursday because I need to make sure that people send me the stuff on Friday. It's like, it's on their calendar. It's been our expectation for 4 years that it's due
by X,
by that time. And you sending out the reminder means they don't have to be responsible until you send out. If you don't send out the reminder, do people send it in? No. I said, that's a conversation. We need to reestablish what the expectation is.
Yes.
This needs to be in my inbox by 4:00 on Thursday. I'm no longer going to be sending you reminders. I know you guys know that those are things are due. So I'm going to take this off my responsibility list to remind you.
One of my low payoff activities.
Right? That you can do that. And so, first of all, just recognizing what are the expectations that you have. Have you been clear about what those things are? Who do you need to communicate or reestablish what those expectations are? And then follow up. Because when they did it right, thank you.
Thank you.
When they don't do it, then let's remind you. And we're not going to remind you forever.
Correct.
We're going to coach you until you decide you're either no longer coachable or you've made a change in your behavior.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yes.
So this is such a fun topic, because watching the audience and the people that we coach go through this process, I do that. And even when I teach it, I'm like, oh, that happens, right?
Oh, yeah. And they have that, oh, I didn't think about what that hidden message we're telling everyone else.
Or the little habit of behavior when you say, oh, that's just so-and-so.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I know you're busy. But I'm like, if we're not busy, we have a different problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us on this episode of The Leadership Hustle. And don't forget the subscribe button so you never miss another episode.